Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of College Hockey Talk. On today's podcast, I'm joined by Sophomore from the Ferris State hockey team, Bradley Marek. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Bradley, and how's everything going?
Yeah, it's going good. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Just finishing up the first part of the season here and looking forward to talking with you today. And thanks for having me again.
Yeah, no problem. And obviously, you guys just finished the first half of your season after you split against St. Thomas last weekend. How would you evaluate your team's performance as of now, as the first half of the season has come to a close? Because I feel like your record doesn't really indicate how well your team's played because you're still in the mix to win the CCHA this year.
Yeah, I think you hit it right on. We're definitely in the mix. I think, going into Minnesota State, sweeping them in regulation, both games in their barn, first time in 7 years or something crazy like that. So, I mean, hats off to them too. Been a good team for so long and still are. But that just shows where we're at, and 9 wins right now going into Christmas break. But we're definitely happy, but looking to continue to build.
Yeah, I want to ask you a little bit about that sweep against Mankato because that was pretty cool to see. And obviously, I feel like that kind of put your team on the map a little bit. Talk about what it took to get that weekend sweep and just the atmosphere of being the road team in that building, because every video I see, it seems pretty intense. So it must have been nice to sort of silence that crowd.
Yeah, definitely a tough environment to play in. I mean, our goalies played on their heads both night, but it took a team effort both games, I think, sticking to our game plan, what we know best, and us as individuals, what we do to make the team win. We all did and contributed well. So it was really good. And their Saturday night was a teddy bear toss night, so a lot of people in the stands there. But it's a great place to play in and fun when you come out on top.
I'm curious about that because whenever a team scores that first goal and all those teddy bears come flying, it takes forever to clean up the ice. What's it like being on the opposite end of that? Because it must be sort of a weird moment.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. That's for sure. Like you get out there and help, or what you're really supposed to do. But yeah, usually it's a couple-minute break or whatever. But it's fun though. It's cool to see, and it's good cause. So it's fun.
Now, obviously, for yourself individually, you already have 14 points coming into this past weekend series against St. Thomas. So I'm curious, what was like the biggest improvement you made to your game this offseason that led to this success that you're having this year so far?
I think it was just confidence coming off a pretty good freshman season, and then knowing how good our team was coming in. Just success just kind of came from hard work and not just from me, but from my teammates. And being able to build off them every day in practice and get better from them every day in practice is something I, really take seriously and really appreciate from them because it is a team effort.
And what does an off season look like for you typically? Like, what do you work on? And I'm curious, like, what skills you work on, but also, do you try to rest up a little bit? Because I feel like it's hard to play hockey for 12 months in a year. So I'm assuming you take some time off as well.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in some time off and recovering the body and just like getting away from the game for a month or 2 months. And just depends on however you want to look at it as a player. But I'm more of like a month and a half guy. I just want to golf and work, hang out with my buddies, just be a normal kid and just go through, the routine as you sleep in every once in a while. But it's still working out and skating. And this summer I was big on like just like perfecting my shot and a lot of stuff with my edges. So like changing the angle of my shot and being more deceptive with my feet, being a bigger guy. So just working on the little things.
Now, I want to transition and talk about the beginning of your hockey career and kind of work up to where you are today with Ferris. So, you were from Michigan. So, talk about growing up there and how did you start playing hockey?
Oh yeah, so I'm from Big Rapids actually, so where Ferris State is. So that was pretty cool for me. I got started here when I was like 4 years old, 3 years old. Um, my dad played hockey, so he got me into it, and just kind of loved the game ever since then, and was always outside shooting pucks or playing this, playing that, whatever. Had a stick in my hand, so it was always fun there.
Did you ever go to any Ferris State games as a kid? I'm curious about that because they had some really good teams back in the day that made the tournament.
Yeah, so I went. We had season tickets pretty much my whole life, so it was pretty awesome to be able to see it and grow up with such good teams, literally 2 minutes from my house. So it's been a blessing for me to be here now and to see what that level was when I was a kid too was awesome.
And I have to ask, what's your favorite game you've ever went to as a fan of Ferris State before you were a player?
Yeah, that's a good question. I actually can remember one. It had to be. I don't remember what year it was exactly. It was Ferris was playing Michigan State at home. Jeff Lerg was in net for Michigan State, and the Chelios brothers were on Michigan State at the time, and it was a packed barn. It was awesome. It was the best environment I've ever seen. I don't know, other cool games when Ferris won the WCHA in Grand Rapids. That was pretty cool to see that, and they brought back the trophy. So that was another big one, but I was older then. Uh, yeah, there's been a lot of cool ones, that's for sure.
Yeah, and obviously that barn, it's old, but it has a lot of character. Talk about what it's like playing in there because I feel like when there's a full crowd, it's definitely one of the best atmospheres in the CCHA.
I think so too. Yeah, like when we last year played Michigan State, and teams have a really hard time even coming into our building. It's a little bit smaller, like you said. The ice surface is even smaller, so they get kind of nervous or don't really know what's going on. So it's fun for us and a good advantage. Practice on it all the time, obviously. But yeah, it's nice. Like when the crowd gets going, it definitely helps in our favor.
And obviously you have a very gritty team, so that must be to your advantage as well.
Yeah, it's awesome. We love the way we play right now, and like you were saying earlier, we definitely could have a little better record than we have, so we're not too worried about it. But with our grit and how hard we work and the skill of our guys, I think we're definitely going to be contenders.
Now, who was your favorite player growing up? Was it someone on Ferris State? Was it someone on the Red Wings? Like who's someone that you idolized as a kid?
Cody Chupp from Ferris State. He's now with Minnesota Duluth. He's their assistant coach. He was my favorite player growing up by far when he was at Ferris.
Have you ever had the chance to meet him, like as a college student now? Because that must be kind of funny.
He funny. It kind of goes full circle. So he knew my dad growing up, and he would watch my dad, and he was a fan of my dad. So that was pretty cool. And then without me even knowing that, I became a fan of him because his family's also from the Big Rapids area, and he was actually my coach in Muskegon in the USHL.
Oh,
So
nice.
it was pretty cool.
Did you ever get to tell him that like you were his favorite player? He was your favorite player growing up. I'm assuming I feel like he was
Yeah.
probably humble about it, but that must have been a cool moment for him as well.
Yeah, and when I definitely told him a lot when I was a kid, but then when I got to juniors and that kind of came out, I definitely got some chirps from the boys. But it was fun. It was good.
I feel like he definitely had some chirps for you too, since he knew you a little bit before coming into the team.
Oh, he definitely did. First day, getting some love, but it's all good. It was all good.
I do want to ask you about your UCHL days because you played for Muskegon, but you also played for the Youngstown Phantom as well. And I love that Youngstown team that you had during the COVID year because you had some really, really talented players on that team. I'm curious, talk about your experience in the USHL, but how did you get the opportunity to go to that league?
Yeah, so I was drafted by a team who folded now, the Bloomington Thunder, who became Central Illinois Flying Aces. So I played there for about a year and a half, but I got drafted out of U16 Fox Motors, and then just kind of got my opportunity through being an affiliate, going up practicing and going to camps in the summer with them. And obviously as a draft pick, you're invited. So got my start with them and under Coach Watt there, and was lucky enough. He, I wouldn't say took a chance on me, but I was a younger kid and still in high school. But I just proved that I belonged there through like some hard work, and he really liked that, and my leadership qualities he liked as well. So that kind of helped me stick there. And then I got traded to or dispersed to Youngstown when we folded. So I went there, spent a year and a half there, and had a really good team, like you were saying, that COVID year. Trevor Kuntar, unreal. So many other good players. Georgi Merkulov, he's in the AHL. But so many guys that have such high hockey potentials in the future. And then my age out year, I asked for a trade because we had 5 20-year-olds and you were only allowed 4. So I asked for a trade and got lucky enough to go to Muskegon. And, thankful for Brad Patterson, the coach of Youngstown, sent me there and knew I was older and had played in the league for 4 years already and sent me somewhere that's an hour down the road from my house. So that was pretty cool of him too.
Yeah, talk about how the USHL helped prepare you for college hockey, because obviously you're going against a lot of high-end players, but you're also going against pretty much all Division I commits, which not a lot of junior leagues can say.
Yeah, no, that's definitely right, and it's the toughest junior league in the world, and it definitely prepares you the right way. And some guys take 1 year, some guys take 4, like myself, and I don't think any certain ways the right way. And when people ask me what should I do, and it just depends on how comfortable those guys are and how developed they feel. I know that last year of eligibility for me was so important. It helped boost my confidence so much, and being with my time in Muskegon was unbelievable. Probably my favorite time. But no, it's awesome. I loved USHL, how hard it was, gritty, but so skilled at the same time. I mean, you're seeing high-end top draft picks playing NTDP all the time, and those top guys like Chicago Steel was always good. But so it was fun.
What's your favorite memory you have in the USHL when you look back on it right now?
Scoring in the conference finals. No, scoring second round of playoffs against Green Bay to beat them. I had 2 goals that night, and we beat them 2-1.
That's awesome. And I do have to ask you, because one player that you got to play with was Riley Duran, who is kind of lighting it up with the Providence Friars. I'm curious what it was like being his teammate and how cool it is to see the development that he's had being a player at Youngstown to obviously playing with the World Junior team last summer.
Yeah, Riley's a great player. I mean, he's right up there with, the best players I've ever played with, and he's gifted everywhere on the ice. He's a big body. He's not afraid to hit guys, get in the gritty areas, but he's also so skilled. Like, you don't make those teams. You're not drafted that, to the Bruins if you're not, a skilled player and a good player, and he checks all the boxes. So I'm not surprising he's a great teammate off the ice, great friend. I got to get back in touch with him sometimes. You fall out of touch, but he's definitely a guy you could always just talk to, pick up the phone. So it's nice.
Now, talk a little bit about your recruitment process to Ferris State. What made you want to go there for some other schools you might have looked at, and how cool was it to be recruited by the school you grew up idolizing?
Yeah, for me it was really awesome. To hear from Coach Daniels and the coaching staff here, it was pretty much a no-brainer for me right away to come back home after being away for 4 years, like I said. But it was a dream come true, and I didn't even need to visit. Obviously, I knew what kind of was going on, and I knew, the program's history and how good they've been in the past. And we're on a little bit of a rebuild now, and it's starting to show, so it's really exciting.
Yeah, obviously, I kind of want to ask you about that, because obviously back in the day, we were talking about how Ferris State had so much success, and obviously that hasn't happened in the past few years, but it's starting to change. What's it like being part of the team that's sort of starting to change the culture back to what it once was?
It's awesome. It's cool to see everything going the right way, and definitely guys pulling the right way, and it's going to lead on. Like, our freshman class is awesome. We got some great leaders in that class, and my sophomore class the same way. I mean, we're all great leaders and all can pull the same way, but it's good to see the young guys buying in right away too. So that's going to help us tremendously. And our last home game, we brought in the 2012 team that had the most success here, going to the national championship game. And they said they had the same record going into Christmas break, and we just got to have certain mindset that I think we do have of, we're going to go into games, we're going to be confident, we're going to win, we're going to play our game plan.
Now, what was like the biggest adjustment you had to make to college hockey as a freshman? Was it the speed of the game, physicality, going against older players? What stood out to you the most, and how did you adjust to it?
Yeah, I went from being the oldest guy in my former league to, you know, younger to middle of the pack, whatever. But the CCHA is an older league for sure, so it was definitely tough to play against those older, bigger guys. But I mean, I think it's just harder to score. Like, hard to score in college. It's hard to produce. You know, you get 34 games instead of 62. It's harder to put up bigger numbers, but there's the separation of the guys who do and some of the guys who don't. But you got to learn a different role as long as, you know, you might be scoring, but you also got to block shots and kill penalties, win faceoffs. You know, it's the little things to help your team win in college. I feel like every game matters so much more.
Yeah, and something I kind of admire about your game is how few penalties you take. I think you only have one penalty you've taken this year. So I guess is that something you work on? And what's the key to staying out of the box? I don't want to blow up your spot a little bit, but I'm just curious how it all works out.
Yeah, I just don't want to make coach mad. No, but I mean, I don't know, just being a bigger guy, just like to use my size. You don't need to blow everybody up, but definitely get a rub on guys and take the puck, but then protect the puck at the same time, and you'll draw way more penalties than you do take. And put your stick away and finish hits, and if you do it clean, you're not going to get penalties, and then you eliminate those stick penalties. So move your feet everywhere and finish checks.
And how do you balance both academics and hockey? I'm curious about that as well because that's an aspect I feel like that isn't talked about enough when you talk about like college hockey and stuff, like just that whole other life that you have to have. And especially for you, since you were in juniors for so long, you probably like had 2 years where you didn't have to do any school. So is it weird kind of jumping back into that?
Yeah, it was when my first math class my freshman year, I felt like I was learning rocket science, and it was basic algebra, and I was like, oh my goodness. But then you just put on, you know, the work boots, kind of just hunker down and study. It might take you a couple extra hours to, you know, really relearn the stuff after class, or making sure you're getting to know it. And that's just kind of what I like to tell the freshmen too, like just kind of stay up on your work, because it sneaks up on you fast, especially, you know, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you know, you're focused on school and the team that's coming in, or you're going there. You might leave on a Wednesday, and then on the road you're not as focused on school and getting your work done. But it's a tough balance. You just got to, you know, be able to, you know, kind of multitask and know when this is due, and but also be ready to go on the ice.
Yeah, I'm assuming are you all done with math now since you're a sophomore, or do you still have to take another class?
I'm done with math, thankfully.
That's good. That's good. What are you majoring in?
Business. I think I'm doing like sales. I have to pick pretty soon here, but I want to do like some marketing, sales, or something.
Nice, nice. That's awesome. And with getting back to your freshman year a little bit, obviously your team sort of was up and down for a lot of the season, but you guys had a great season or playoffs quarterfinal as you guys came up short to Michigan Tech, losing obviously in an overtime game. I'm curious how you've used that playoff series to help you out for this year because I feel like your team learned a lot from it, playing a tough team like Tech, and what you like took away from that whole experience.
Yeah, that's another great question. And we went into overtime with Tech 4 times in a row. Twice. Right, we played them 2 weeks before playoffs, and we went to overtime both games. And they were at top. They were like 18th or 17th in the nation at that time.
They're a tournament team, so yeah.
We went to overtime with them twice, and we lost both times in overtime. And then in playoffs, like you said, we lost in overtime the first night, and then double overtime the second night. So I mean, it kind of, you know, fueled our fire a little bit for the guys that were returning. And like I said, the freshmen have been so good at buying in. So I feel like they picked it up right with us, and it was so good for us to play Tech in the beginning of the year and beat them in regulation, and just know like, hey, you know, they're still a really good team, still ranked, like, but we're here to play. So it was really good for us.
And what's it like playing in the CCHA? Obviously, it's a very gritty league, but I feel like it sort of gets overlooked. But at the same time, it's not because you saw what Minnesota State did in the tournament, Michigan with
Yep.
all those high-end first-round draft picks, and they couldn't. It was just like it's pretty crazy how like just how talented the league is. Or it was Minnesota, my apologies, but just how talented the league is. But no one really talks about it compared to some of the other conferences in college hockey.
Yeah, I feel like we do get a little overlooked, but it is good when now look at us like we're right off the top 25 ranking. Northern's right off. Tech's ranked. Minnesota State's ranked. That's 4 teams out of our 8. So that's half our league is either top 30. So I feel like that's pretty good for us, and we'll fly under the radar all we want, but when it comes down to playoffs and all that stuff, I feel like when the CCHA teams are involved, they give a tough battle to every team that they play.
And obviously, you're going to get that opportunity your next game at the Great Lakes Invitational as you guys go against Michigan State, who's been a very hot team as of late. How excited are you for that opportunity, and what's it going to be like playing a Big Ten opponent?
Yeah, I'm really excited. We owe them one. Played them last year. We were up 3-0 going into the third and ended up losing 4-3. So we definitely owe them a game, and it's no better time to do it than now. So and especially in that big of a tournament, eyes on us. It would be really good for us in the rankings and get us another step in the right direction. I feel like that's all we're building at right now. It's just chipping away one game at a time towards the final goal.
And as a Michigan native, how do you love the Great Lakes Invitational? Because it's kind of cool having all those Michigan hockey teams playing in a tournament together. I wish they sort of made it like the Bean Pot, where you have like the 4 teams or add another team to it. And I just think that would be cool to have.
Yeah, I think the Great Lakes is awesome. I mean, we were just talking about it the other day, like, tournaments in college hockey, and we said, the Bean Pot's obviously probably number 1 or, but I feel like the Great Lakes is right up there too with it's been a tournament since the 70s with started with Michigan Tech. So and there's always great teams, Michigan State, Western, us, it's always somebody good. And it's always somebody it's always gonna be fun for people to show up, even if they're not cheering for, a team in particular. It's good for the communities too.
Now we're in a segment I like to call the non-hockey segment, where I ask you some non-hockey questions just to get to know you a little bit more off the ice. So obviously, first one is, what music do you like to listen to before a game?
For a game recently, it's been rock. I don't know. There's some rap in the locker room, so if that's usually my first choice, but second choice is usually rock. So I'll put my headphones in and kind of mellows me out a little bit. It's not like heavy metal, but it's just more old school, like 80s, 90s stuff. So that's been my go-to lately.
Who controls the aux in the locker room?
Oh, Nick Nardici. He's my roommate. Good aux guy. Really good aux guy.
I feel like that's one of the most challenging jobs to have on the team, because if you mess up, people are going to just chirp you.
Terrible job. I would never want that job.
What is your favorite TV show, and which character on that show you think would be the best teammate at Ferris State? Like, if someone on that TV show you had picked to be a teammate on Ferris State, who would you choose?
So the show I'd go with is Peaky Blinders. It's my favorite show. It's a Thomas Shelby, the leader, the head guy, the team first guy. It's what we want here.
Exactly, and he'll be pretty scary for opponents going after him too, because I feel like he could throw him.
Pretty terrifying guy. Yeah.
Next thing is, what is the most interesting thing you've seen or read this week?
Interesting thing I've seen. Probably, I don't know. It's a great question. The World Cup stuff, I don't know. It's pretty interesting just today. So, I mean, Messi, right? Just gets it. So it's needs that.
That was probably the craziest game. I'm not the biggest soccer guy, but that was a pretty crazy game, because I thought Argentina was kind of rolling through it, and then France got those 2 goals to tie up the game, and then it was just mayhem for the rest of the game. It was pretty fun to watch.
Yeah, our group chat was blowing up about it, so I had to throw it on, and it was pretty sweet.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if soccer can grow in this country. I feel like it's starting to get there, especially since the U.S. is hosting it in 3 years. So I think I wouldn't be surprised if it's like one of the 4 like major sports like hockey, football, and baseball are.
I'm sure it will be. I'm sure it's just too big overseas not to, right?
Yeah. Now, speaking of teammates, I want to ask you, who on Ferris State has the best style besides yourself? Because I see some of those pregame outfits that you guys pull up, and it's pretty nice.
Yeah, I would say, I hate to say it, Noah Giesbrecht probably. I love Geezy. Pump his tires a little bit. He's awesome goalie, fantastic goalie. That's another thing. Shout out to our goalies. Without them, we wouldn't be where we're at. I mean, stand on their head. But anyways, Geezy, he's got some good style. Don't tell him. I might tell him to skip this part of the interview, but definitely Geezy.
Who's the funniest teammate?
Nick Nardicia.
Now, which teammate has the messiest locker?
Messiest locker. I gotta give it to the guy next to me, Matt Slick, our captain. He's gonna hate that I said it, but it's gotta go to him. He's always got stuff in front of his stall, but we give him a hard time. He's not really messy. Just give him a hard time.
Yeah, he doesn't. We don't need to see his locker. We just need to know that it's the messiest.
That's right.
Now, final non-hockey question is: if there was a movie made about your life, who would you want to play yourself? I assume probably Cillian Murphy from Peaky Blinders. That would be a pretty fun actor to play you.
Exactly what I want to pick. Yes. No, I love that show. I love him. I just love the way he's just hard and good leader. He's do anything for the guys. I love it.
We need to see him in a Ferris State jersey at some point. I know he probably doesn't know anything about college hockey, but that'd be pretty funny if he showed up to Ferris for a game.
A dream come true. I mean, me and you were talking about J-Mick last year. We love that show. We talk about it all the time still. So that's funny. But yeah, that'd be awesome.
He also can show up in a main jersey too for Justin, because those jerseys are fire.
Those are sick jerseys. Yeah, I'll give him that. Those are sick.
Now, getting back to some hockey questions now. First one is, what advice would you give younger people that are listening to this? Advice to get to the Division I level?
You just stay with it. I feel like kids get too hard on themselves right now, and go on social media. It's pretty easy to, go one way or the other and say, I need to be doing this, or I need to be Connor McDavid scoring these type of goals, or doing this, or I'm never going to make it. And kids get too wrapped up in their own head right now, and I feel like the game of hockey is always meant to be fun, and that's why everybody started playing it, or loving the game. You don't even have to play it. You do it for fun. You do it because you love it. It needs to be more like that, but it also comes with hard work, right? So it's a balance, but just keep going. That's what I always say. Just keep going. Keep doing your thing.
Yeah, it's good advice to hear, because I feel like everyone idolizes to be like one of those superstar players in the NHL, but sometimes teams just need a guy that can kill penalties and block shots, and no one really idolizes to be like that guy. But if you can create that role for yourself, I feel like a lot of teams would take that type of player.
Exactly. I couldn't agree more.
Now, for all the Ferris State fans that are listening to this episode, what message do you have to them about the second half of the season? And
Yeah, I mean, I'd say keep tuning in, keep being ready. We're gonna keep fighting. We're gonna keep doing what we can to bring us back on the map. It's our time again, and we're excited, and we're gonna keep battling.
Now, do you have any shout outs you want to give to any of your teammates, former teammates, family members, or friends, or just anything you could say it, whatever you want. The floor is all yours.
Yeah, thanks. I got a shout out my family, obviously my mom, my dad, my grandma, huge supporters of me. My best buddy Josh Kirby, give a shout out to him. He's always been there feeding me pucks, one-timers whenever I need them, and it's always been a guy that I can talk to, help me out whenever. It doesn't even have to be about hockey. So he's been somebody who's always been there for me, like we were talking about, just keeping that love of the game alive. He's always helped me out with that. So big shout out to Kerbo, and the boys love him. So got to keep him around, and one of our good luck charms. So that's for sure.
Well, shout out to you, Brad, for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate your time. It means a lot to myself. I wish you and your team nothing but the best for the second half of the season. And yeah, I'll try to watch as much as I can, even though I'm in the East Coast and I can't see any of your games in person because you're a little too far. I'll try to watch it through a screen and cheer on as best I can.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate having me on here, and hope nothing but the best for you and the pod. I'll definitely be listening to a little more now and spreading the word, and hope nothing but the best.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Now, one more
Yeah.
thing, Brad, before I end the interview is just I just paused the recording.